Alright, so obviously, as you guys know, I've been on a total tear with my marker board videos. I mean, I've been producing so much content that, sometimes my brain hurts. I think so much. But today's video is definitely more sentimental and important, which is why I'm just having like a face-to-face conversation with you here on the camera. But I think I'm going to title this video, "The Biggest False Belief About Women That Men Believe." Like, this is the biggest false belief that I have ever seen that men believe about women when it comes to dating and relationships. And the only reason why I can tell you this is because I've made this mistake a few times over in my life because I believed the wrong things. I will tell you this. This is the exact text message that I sent to somebody that I know. And if I told you who this was, all of you guys would know who this is, another influencer. But I'm going to read this text message and then I'm going to elaborate. So here's the exact screenshot. I put, "What I thought too when I was younger, based off all the high value type content stuff, was that once I'm high enough value, now I'm finally qualified to be able to love a woman." And I put brutal false belief. Guys, this was the biggest brutal false belief I have ever had to internalize in my own dating life, and I'm going to explain why, but I'm going to read this one more time just because it is that powerful, and I do not want you to make this mistake, because those of you who ever date or you're in a long-term relationship with a woman that you really like and you think now you're qualified to love her, like, this is the biggest misconception. Like, oh, I've put in enough work on myself, now I'm attractive enough, now I'm handsome enough, now I make enough money, now I have high enough status, now I have enough followers where I am finally able and allowed to and qualified to love a woman. Okay, so I'm going to read this one more time. What I thought too when I was younger, based off all the high value type content stuff, was that once I'm high enough value, now I'm finally qualified to be able to love a woman. What a brutal false belief, okay? And a lot of you guys are going to run into this, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so the reason why this is such a brutal false belief, and I'm laughing as I say this because of just the volume of mistakes that I have made over the years. Guys, you have to understand, the only reason I can tell you this content, the only reason I can articulate this content, the only reason I can tell you what to do and what not to do is because I have failed so many times over. It disgusts me. It makes me want to almost vomit. Like, just looking at myself in the mirror, it's like, wow, you really had no clue what you were doing. You had no idea. You sat there every single day and you thought you were doing all the right stuff because this guy said that's the way or that guy said that's the way, and then you were smacked with the brutal truth of reality so many times over. And this is what you have to be able to do as a man, is really decipher the truth from the lies. You have to be able to really see what is true and what isn't, and this is the biggest false belief that you will run into. Here's what's going to happen. You, as a man, as you age, if you're putting in the work like I have, okay, leveling up your own attractiveness, leveling up your body, your fitness, leveling up all of these other areas. And before anyone in the comments says, well, Casey, you tell me that self-improvement doesn't necessarily equal more attraction, you have to understand, you self-improve for you. This is the recipe. You self-improve for you so you are a shiny object. And she goes, wow, he's so hot. I want you guys all to make all the money, build all the muscle, do everything, build the best social life, have the best fashion, do everything you can. Okay, I want you to do all of that. And then when you're around her, I want you to not talk about any of it. I want you to be her escape of the real world into just vibe and joy. And that's what I mean when I tell you that women will oftentimes be with like guys who appear to be losers. I want you to take that almost mentality of that you don't care about anything with you onto that date, and it's like everything that you're doing for you, and then she doesn't see any of it, and all she sees is this character, this archetype, this guy that she can't figure out, that she can't necessarily get to have any serious conversation with because everything becomes fun. That is what I mean. Now, here's what's going to happen to all of you. You are going to level up your own attractiveness. You're going to level up who you are as a man. You're going to do all these things. I promise all of you will. If you're watching my content, if you're watching other content creators' content, you're going to do all this. And then what's going to happen is you're going to meet a couple women who come along and you're going to really, 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 really like them because you think they're gorgeous. You think they have feminine personalities. They're sweet. This is going to happen to all of you. And here's what you're going to think. Since the male brain right, is typically logical. Like, I'm a man, I would consider myself a masculine man. I typically think rationally and logically, okay? If I fail at a bench press, I'm going to have to get stronger until I can hit that weight. If I fail that month with the amount of money I'd like to make, I'm probably going to have to get better at business, right? So you think of it like ones and zeros, X and Y, yes and no. So what I mean by that is, like, you think, I put in this work, I am now qualified to love her, right? Input, output. Like, I am high value enough, I'm allowed to have a relationship. I'm high value enough, I'm allowed to love her. I'm high value enough, I'm allowed to wear my heart on my sleeve or give her consistency. Like, you think like you finally become an attractive enough option to where you're allowed to basically break the rules and the rules don't apply to you. Every single guy who chases some kind of self-improvement is probably going to run into that. And I know because I have ran into that. And this is why I'm telling you, it is the most brutal false belief I have ever had to internalize. It is the most brutal false belief that I have ever had to break. There's nothing worse than when you believe something about the world to be 100% true, like all the way through your core. Because this was me. What I believed about the world that I believed was 100% true in these few circumstances was completely wrong. That is the worst. Not only will that shake you to the core, but your whole reality is crushed because you're like, whoa, what else am I wrong about? I thought I was so smart. What else am I wrong about? What else am I wrong about? What is it that I believe to be true that is completely false? Do I believe other things about life that's 100% true that I just don't know any better, so it's actually false too? Am I going to have to accumulate more scars, more issues? Am I going to have to accumulate all these things to learn more? When does it end? This is what you're going to run into. This is what you're going to run into is you are going to improve and you're going to think that you're now masculine enough, or you're going to think that you're high value enough because you've probably consumed all this content, and then you're going to meet a really pretty woman and she's going to come along into your life and she's going to completely break your belief because you realized you were wrong. And the same rules apply to you. And you realize that it doesn't matter how tall you are, okay? It doesn't matter how much money you make. So here's what happens is you're that guy who's 6'5", and then you realize that the same rules apply to you and you get dumped. And then you're making a bunch of money. Let's say you make $1 million a year, $5 million a year, $10 million a year, and then your girlfriend or your wife leaves you. Or you have all of these social media followers and you think that you have so much clout and so much social media status and you're doing great and everybody knows you and everybody's giving you admiration and everybody loves you, and then you realize that she left you too. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. The most brutal false belief that you will have to break and you'll have to smash in half and you'll have to internalize as a man is that there is absolutely no such thing as becoming high value enough or good looking enough or handsome enough to where you will ever be qualified to love a woman, because women fundamentally do not like the men who love them. Women don't want you to love them. And from my experience in my own life, after developing myself into who I am over the past 11 years, after talking to numerous guys who are in their 30s, 40s, okay, the guy who I was texting that message to is between 6'4" to 6'5", I think, makes really good money, is in the top, probably 5% as far as looks. All of you guys would know who this is if I said the name. But I'm not going to say the name just for his privacy and just for the sake of the video. When I say all of you would know who it is, I genuinely believe that majority, or like all of you, would actually know who it is. And he said, I believe that too. There's false beliefs right now in the world of dating when it comes to female nature that I'm trying to expose slowly to help you guys uncover these brutal truths that I have had to learn for myself. Because you have to understand, when you're like me, okay, or not to say I'm anything special, but I've done a lot. So when you have the body transformation, right, and you acquire some type of recognition, and you spend 10 years building business, and you're financially stable, let's say, or you're leveling up your value, and you're becoming equipped with the skills you need to have success as a man, and you realize that the same rules applied to you in that relationship as they did when you were 19 years old and you sent one too many text messages when you realize it's the exact same and none of it matters. It will break your entire worldview in half when you realize that she doesn't care. Because here's what you have to understand. What you were told about life when it comes to what men view as high value versus what women view as high value is completely different. And they are not correlated at all. If anybody wants to use the word alpha, there's a very big difference between alpha and what women consider an alpha in romantic sense. Okay? They are not correlated. A high value man on paper to what other men consider high value is not what women consider high value and what women respond to. They are completely different. I will give you an example. If this guy over here is 6'7" and makes a bunch of money and is really good looking, but he sends good morning baby text messages every single day and I love you text messages every single day and consistently wants to see her and always hold her hand, she will break his heart because he has shown weakness and he is not high value in a romantic sense. He may be high value on paper, he may be high value to other men, he may be able to check all of the boxes, but internally her hypergamy goes, something is off and I don't know why he's treating me this well. Something is off and he shouldn't be this nice to me. Something is off and for some reason I always gravitate towards men with red flags. And I like men with red flags better, and I like men who only want to see me once every 2 weeks better, and I like men who only respond to a text message once every 3 days better. I like those men better, she says. And then that other guy that only makes a fraction of what you made, that other guy who only looks not even nearly as good looking as you, that other guy with nowhere near the amount of muscle mass that you have, who doesn't like her, doesn't care about her, only wants to see her once a month or for 90 minutes a time when they lay down and watch a movie, that's the man that she falls in love with because he is higher value than the other guy. The biggest false belief that I have had to overcome, I say this from the bottom of my heart. I say this because after making so many videos on this channel, right, because you have to understand, when I'm speaking, I'm doing things to articulate stuff well. If you actually met me in real life, my vocal cadence would probably be different, and I'm a normal dude just like you, but you gotta understand, when I teach on that marker board, I try to be as articulate and specific as possible so that way you have multiple aha moments. But man to man right now, me and you on this camera, what I am trying to tell you is that there has been nothing more brutal for me to overcome in my entire life than that one false belief right there. Than that one thing, which is why I'm going to read this text message one more time because I know how powerful it is, and a lot of times in life we have to be reminded of things so we don't forget them. We have to be reminded of things so we stop making these mistakes. If you ever notice in a video when I say, I'm going to say that one more time, and then I say it one more time, it's because every time I say that, I want the point to stick. The point has to stick. If the point doesn't stick, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So let's just read this one more time. What I thought too when I was younger, based off all the high value type content stuff, was that once I'm high enough value, now I'm finally qualified to be able to love a woman. Brutal false belief. You will never be qualified to love a woman because as soon as you love a woman, she thinks that you're weak. Women fundamentally do not want you to love them. This is the one thing that you're going to have to overcome, and you're going to start to see there's absolutely no point. And this is coming from a guy who has a nice car. This is coming from a guy who has been an entrepreneur for like over 10 years. This is coming from a guy who did all the stuff that you think you need to do. I've met all the people, right? I've done all the stuff. I've had all the parties. I've done all the social life stuff. I'm telling you this right now. You will never be qualified to love a woman the way you want to. Because every man deep down would like to love a woman unconditionally and give her certainty and be there for her and be nice to her and genuinely love her. And as soon as you do that, she doesn't like you. And me personally, I think that this once again goes back to Adam and Eve because she knows that her whole entire mission or goal is to deceive you. And she's sitting there going, you know my goal is like to deceive you, right? How could you actually love me? How could you actually love me when I'm basically here to try to break you in half? This is why she doesn't respect men who love her, because she knows it doesn't make sense. She knows that doesn't make sense. She's going to go, I'm literally here to see if I can lead you astray with my words, lie to you, convince you to believe you the wrong things, convince you to believe that all of this is true and it isn't. get you to follow my lead, get you to make mistakes. I'm here to get you to make mistakes on purpose, and you're telling me that you're going to love me? This is why they don't like or respect men who love them. Because she knows at her core, she is not there for your best interest, she is there for her best interest. And that right there is exposing not only the deepest truths of female nature, but the deepest truths of all of the things that I have had to uncover for myself. And that right there is why I wanted to make this video to you man to man today, so you don't make the same mistakes that I do. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Join us inside of our community. We are growing a movement of men who are actually learning, understanding, and mastering the language of women. And I teach a specific process where I break down everything into front end game, middle game, and back end game. Front end game is how to act when you first meet the woman to retain her interest level. Middle game is how to act on the first 1 to 3 dates, okay, when typically romantic interest or intimacy has been formed. And back end game is how to carry out a successful long-term relationship without her trying to leave you. This is what I teach. I have a specific framework and a specific method. And if you just even go down below and you see the page that I made showing you all of the other guys claiming that they have all this success, these are real guys in the community. The amount of transformations or testimonials that I have with this to back up real proof that this stuff works is through the roof. So because of that, I know that I can help you too. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.